Welcome back. Welcome in Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com. It's Paramount Podcast. I'm Mike Casazza here for the last time in the regular season, joined by Chris Anderson. Last time in the regular season, West Virginia playing a football game. Last time in the regular season. I think you get the theme here. There's a whole lot up in the air, on the line, unknown, in the clouds right now. All we know for sure. Mountaineers, Red Raiders, noon, FS1. That's about it. And then maybe the most exciting or most compelling stuff will be in the hours or days that follows with regard to, who's coaching the team, where the team is going for a bowl, who's going to be on the team for the bowl, who's going to be on the coaching staff for the bowl, so on and so forth. Um, Man, the cart and the horse are so screwed up here, Chris, but we do have a football game we have to cover, which means preview. That's why we're here.
That's where we're starting, huh? We're gonna start with the football game. That's fine. No, I think that it's good. I mean, we've been covering the coaching situation and everything with it from all angles. I feel like I don't believe anything has changed. We're recording this on Wednesday. This will go up Thursday morning. I don't think anything will change between recording and post. Nothing has changed since we recorded on Monday. So yeah. Uh, what's wrong with just focusing on, the actual game of football for once?
Um, You're a liar, Chris. Things have changed. What do you
Oh,
make of a bit of a run on recruiting? Because I think a lot of people are going to want to put two and two together or not want to put two and two together for fear the answer might be what they don't want. You have a job to do, I guess, even if you're not guaranteed tomorrow, you still have to do the job today. Do you make anything of the run of commits and even flips too?
yeah, I think that, obviously 1 week until signing day as we're recording this, and West Virginia is doing everything they can to try to keep this class together that they already had. Several guys are going out making official visits to other programs. We'll see how that turns out. Montavian Quisenberry decommitted and flipped to Kentucky over a month ago. So that's kind of old news. But he was the first kid that was like, you know what, I'm going to take a visit somewhere else and flipped. Thomas Barr, that was somebody that West Virginia parted ways with on their own accord. So that's a little different. But now we have situations where Elgin Sessions is at Georgia Tech or visited Georgia Tech. You
He's
got
from
Tariq
Georgia,
Mallory,
right?
who's, huh?
He's from Georgia, right?
South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then you got Tariq Mallory, who's going to Florida State. You got Aiden Buchanan, who has an offer received a late offer from Michigan. As of right now, does not have anything set. Only 1 weekend to go before signing day. We will see if that happens. Deuce Edwards went to Michigan State. That does not look good for West Virginia. That might change too. So a lot going on. A lot can change over this last week. But West Virginia did pick up 3 commitments. I know some people are like, they were two of them were committed to MAC schools. And it's like, well, one of them is now one of the highest rated players in the class, around the top half of the class, as far as their 24/7 sports ranking is tests out of the gym in Tyrell Russell. He had a Nebraska offer. I compared him to Keon Washington on our message board. For those who don't know it, and I don't know his situation off the field like I did with Washington. Washington was a guy who came to West Virginia's camp, tested amazingly, performed amazingly, coaches offered, and I'm sitting here like, wait, this is his first offer, and he looks this good. What's going on? And it was hey, we don't know if he's going to get eligible, and that's what every other school thought too. He ends up getting eligible. West Virginia reaps the benefits. He's already, we've heard rumblings of him like doing well, like on some scout team stuff and different things. Wouldn't be surprised if he's contributing by next year as a redshirt freshman. Starting, don't it's a long ways off, but that's pretty good for a late pickup like that. And maybe Russell fills the same void. I don't know if he's got great issues or not, but he had like looks from Big Ten schools, Nebraska specifically, and now is at West Virginia. Jameer Davis, Brandon Hamady, two big linemen from Ohio. Jameer Davis, I compared to not as far as skills goes, Jordan White, but Jordan White, for those who don't recall, was an interior lineman for West Virginia. He was, as a sophomore, stud. LSU, Florida State, all these early offers. blew out his knee, missed his entire junior year. West Virginia was like, we'll still take you. Got him. He contributed, played early before transferring. Jameer Davis, similar story, had a lot of looks for some Big Ten schools as a sophomore, blew out his knee, missed his entire junior year, came back, had an amazing senior season. West Virginia, Iowa State, Illinois, several others all moving in late, and West Virginia gets him. So things are positive there. Like it, even though, I just mentioned those couple guys, and again, people are like, Mac school kids, whatever. And West Virginia's fighting to keep a couple guys, already lost a couple guys, and they're still ranked number 38 in the recruiting rankings, which is higher than they've been as far as high school goes in any of the last 3 years. So with all the coaching talk, all the, potential late flips, and even getting a couple guys right now, they're still number 38 in the country in recruiting rankings. So I think they're doing a pretty darn good job, especially given the circumstances.
So the players you mentioned who are getting attention from somewhere else, the positions here, is it it's defensive back and offensive line? I certainly heard that. And
Yep.
West Virginia has just gotten commitments from a defensive back and some offensive linemen. They are likely, this is just natural. They're likely to lose players from their commitment list. It's
Mhm.
almost inevitable here. Do they know something we don't know here? And I mean, that's a pretty loaded question. I understand that, but do you think that they're anticipating, or is this like we got room? These are players we can get. Let's just add talent.
I feel like defensive back was a we know what's coming with Edwards and potentially Sessions, and it was like we have to get a guy, and they really liked Russell, and that speed. I mean, and his speed is, again, we always talk with recruiting. You want to find somebody that can do something elite. Like the 5-star kids can do a lot of things elite. If you're recruiting in the pool of players that West Virginia is recruiting, those kids are not perfect, but maybe they do something elite. Russell is elite with his speed and his acceleration. And if you can start with that, I think that's a lot to build on. So I do believe the cornerback position, that was one they were like, we see what's coming. We must add here. Now, I say that, but if you recall, what was it, a month ago? Neil Brown was asked during one of his press conferences, like, hey, signing day's coming up. And he said, we still want another defensive back. He said he still wanted another offensive lineman. So both of these spots were spots where they were already talking about adding to it. So hey, we'll see. Like, I mean, I know offensive tackle was one where because they had been looking for a second offensive tackle. That's Jameer Davis. Um, they were looking for a second offensive tackle since the summer. So
Right.
that was we're taking this kid no matter what happens with Buchanan and Michigan. Hamidi, Thomas Barr is out. Got to get somebody back in. We don't have to get somebody back in, but you want to get somebody back in, especially if you like him. He came up for a visit even before Barr was kind of, pushed out of the class. So there are a lot of things in motion here, but they seem to have it set and ready and are prepared for things.
Yeah, I understand a lot of people want to draw conclusions here and say, wow, this is a staff that seems like it's going to be here for a while. Um, that's rubbish. Like the head coach is back. There's going to be changes. You're going to have Dark Neil, who's going to probably have to make some changes for sure. So it's not like the staff could be 100% certain they're all going to be here. And then would Neil Brown know he's going to be back? I don't know. That wouldn't be unusual. Would he know he's gone? That's where people are going with this, I think. And then again, West Virginia can make a heck of an impression by beating Texas Tech and finishing. I'm using air quotes here for the audio, strong, right? But when this season did seem like it was getting last rights not too long ago, all of a sudden to win back-to-back games, to go 7-5, get a good bowl, then who knows? You may have the head coach back. I don't want to get into all that right now, but I understand where people are going there, and I get it. I would not draw those two conclusions together. This would not be the first time that a coach is recruiting and telling players one thing and he's gone 7 days later either. It's a
I
weird
don't think he's
business.
going to pull a Tommy Tuberville and be sitting at dinner and be like, I got to go and just leave.
Who was Neil's coach at Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Thomas
But,
Tuberville.
oh God, was Neil there when, no, I think he
I
was already
think Neil
gone.
had already left for Kentucky at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
No, and you're right. Yeah. Like first off, at this point, of the recruiting cycle. There, for the whole year, there's a lot of people involved. It's the assistant coaches, it's the assistants to the assistant coaches, it's the recruiting staff, it's the recruiting coordinator, it's the director of scouting. All these guys are involved all year long. At this point in the cycle, the season is still ongoing. So your coaches, there should be more focused on the actual season that is happening right now, and they are. Like you pick up an offensive lineman, you're like, oh, way to go, Matt Moore. Yes, Matt Moore is involved, but not as much as he would be if this were, say, June or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
spring. He is more focused on the game. So a lot of what is happening here is our guys that and guys and gals that are involved with the recruiting staff, the Taylor West, the Trey Nair, and getting to assistants to the assistant coaches like Javon Codlin. I'm hearing his name involved with recruits more so than say Shadon Brown. That's just a part of the cycle. And these people, the people that are on the recruiting staff, even if there's a head coaching change, they have been known to be kept around for with a new staff. So and even if they're not, like you want to stay in the business, you're not going to stop and be like, well, I'll be out of here in 2 weeks. So I'm just going to go ahead and not try anymore. That's not how it works. They are going to work right up till the end because they want to be able to tell everybody, hey, look what I was doing as things were going down. And that's how they end up getting new and better jobs. So those guys and gals are still working hard. They're still picking up commitments. They're still trying to keep people. So take, again, to your point, are you supposed to be taking anything from the fact that West Virginia is adding commitments right now? No, it's just people doing their jobs, period. Don't think too much more about it.
Yeah. And imagine if there was just like nothing and they just packed it in and they get beat like 63-6 on Saturday.
Yeah.
Then they probably already knew, right? Whoops, we'll see. Let's get into the game, Chris. I don't foresee 63-6, but I could certainly see 69 points here. Do you have the over under on this one? Because I almost don't care. I mean, I can't bet, but I might like give somebody $5 and say just hammer the over. Uh, I don't know how these two aren't both in the 30s, to be honest with you.
Well, that's where they put it. 64.5 is what I see lately. And that's where it opened. So it hasn't moved much.
So here, this is just the thumbnail here. Two very bad pass defenses. I would say two below average overall defenses here. Better against the run. Texas Tech's thing is that it saves itself further embarrassment by forcing turnovers. West Virginia's thing, oh boy, its defense scores touchdowns. West Virginia has played well in fits since the defensive coordinator changed. I think that's fair to say. Um, Different animal. Like this is the best offense that Jeff Coons has seen. I don't think there's any question about that. Even though Baylor was really hot, but when you look across the push of the whole season, Texas Tech has been a better offense. But Baylor's still on another level with what they're doing right now. Um, I just This is going to be a heck of a challenge for all the regular reasons with Texas Tech, which is so weird. Like I know someone asked this question in the news conference, and people kind of went, "Well," but you're looking at like 30 years of this offense and like doing fairly well, 25 years, I guess, of this offense. And like it's been fairly consistent, different iterations, different coordinators. But like Tuberville's not an air raid guy, but he brought in Neil Brown, and Neil Brown was the air raid guy. Then you had the Kingsbury run, the Matt Wells run. Now McGuire's come in and has kept that going, all different versions of it. Just and the same thing, fast, pass it a lot. It's very West Texas kind of shootout style offense, and then a huge crosshair just because West Virginia's defense is on the other side. The other part about this is that Texas Tech defense just can't do anything right. Buckle up on this one. This is going to have a lot of swings, and a lot of points, I think. I think that's fair to say, but I think that's an entertaining way to wrap up the season.
I was looking up as you were talking here. Yeah, so it opened at 64.5. So far, 60% of the money is on the over in this game. Would you like to guess how much? So the odds are Texas Tech by 3.5, which means for those that are familiar with um, gambling, like the money line, which is actually who's going to win, who's going to lose. Texas Tech, a slight favorite, minus 167. Would you like to guess how much money, not the number of bets, but the money on this game is on West Virginia? out of 100%. What do you think it's going to be?
Man, I could see it being 70% for one or 70% for the other. So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
70% for West Virginia.
No, and
Really?
it's not 70% for the other. It's 11% for West Virginia. No one is
Holy cow.
believing. No, the Sharks are not believing. It is currently 11% for West Virginia, according to Pro Football Focus's numbers right here, which again, the amount of money wagered is a public, figure. Vegas must release that. Casinos must release that. So this is, known numbers. Only 11% of the money is on West Virginia at the moment.
Unbelievable. So here's a stat for you. The average number of points scored in a West Virginia game this year, 58.8. Not bad, right? The average number of points scored in a Texas Tech game this year, 73.7. That's three extra touchdowns. And again, it's because the offense can do that, but the defense can do that too. I just at the end of the season, you just see players coming out of their shoes, discipline goes away. Like there's not a whole lot left for these teams to do. I just think this is gonna be a wild, weird game, which of course means, 17-10 or something like that.
Hold
But
on.
let's just start.
I
Go
think
go
I've
ahead.
cracked Vegas. I've cracked Vegas, Mike. You said 58, 73. It's halfway between there. 64 and a half. Is this how they figure it out?
It's that
Just like
easy.
that?
Yeah. Go build yourself a tall hotel, Chris. You've done it.
There we go. I got it.
Let's start with the Tech offense. Chris Baron Morton is
Mm.
13-4 in the last 17 games he started and finished. And I looked at his stats this year and I knew that they were good on offense. He's been really good. And I guess maybe it's that easy, but a lot of targets. And now you're adding the running back to the mix too in the past two games. Their offensive line has done pretty well. Um, it seems like they got the offense right. And then there's a huge concern this year about Morton. If you remember, like they just shut him down in the spring and he'd had shoulder problems and they were worried about fatigue and all that. They might have known more than the pundits on the outside who said this wasn't going to work, but I think he's 25-7. They're averaging about 300 yards a game passing. He's been pretty accurate, and they just move the ball with him. He's been good. That's the key. Like the reason this went right this year is they got quarterback right. That's true everywhere. That was a big question for them. But he's definitely the guy that makes this offense go, even though they have Taj Brooks.
He's been great. Um, I can't remember. I feel like I've gone back and forth on all of the Texas Tech quarterbacks over the last few years.
It's unbelievable.
Were we most recently up on Morton or not? I can't remember if I'm supposed to be bragging right now or just trying to avoid what I've said in the past about him.
I didn't think he was great last year. Just seemed like he had plateaued. He was about 60%. And then I think like a 2-to-1, like 16-8 touchdown ratio. It just didn't have it. And they had receivers, they had some offensive players last year. And then just the offseason with the arm and just the mystery around that. Like it's really strange to shut a guy down in the spring. And it turns out he's fine. Yeah, here we go. 25 touchdowns, 7 picks, 2,976 yards, 63% completion percentage, 270.5 per game. He's just been really good.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. And I was trying to look at some of his numbers. Remember last week we were talking about Rizik, and he was like, "Hey, he only goes center right and usually short."
Mhm.
Morton's more of a balanced thrower. I mean, sure he has his tendencies. He loves to throw short. I don't know if they throw more screens, but they throw a lot behind the line of scrimmage, which would tell me screens, but PFF doesn't seem to register them as screens. I don't know, but he um he can throw it all over the field. He goes deep left, he goes deep right, he goes middle. He's not afraid of any of those things. Um, and yeah, like the completion percentage is not amazing. Like I would think when you typically think of like these Texas Tech offenses, and I know this is different. There's different iterations, and they tweak things, but 63% is kind of ho hum as far as what
Yeah.
that offense has been capable of. Because typically it's more shorter routes and they hit closer to 70%. But he's not like there hasn't been a ton of interceptions. It's changed a little bit lately, which I'll talk about in a second, but 7 interceptions on the year, and he's thrown a lot more this year. He had more interceptions last season, despite
Yep.
throwing so much fewer. So I think he is moving the ball downfield. He's pushing the ball downfield more this year than last, which is backed up by the fact that his average pass completion is a full yard longer this year than last year and turning it over less. So that tends to go well. However,
Oh,
however, his turnover worthy plays. We
huge.
reference these a lot in PFF. Through the first 8 games, he only had 7. That's fantastic. Like less than one turnover worthy play per game. It's great. The last 3, he's had 8. And he's thrown several interceptions in the last few games. Was it 5 in the last 3 games? But or 4 in the last 3 games. Like so he's getting a little, I don't want to say loosey goosey with it, but those are sacks. Two in the last few games. But he hadn't had one in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, only one in the previous like 7 weeks. But again, he's had more turnover worthy plays. He's throwing the ball more, but he's had a higher percentage even of turnover worthy plays in the last 3 weeks. So he is a good quarterback. I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe he's getting a little too, not too confident, but a little too loose, whatever we're trying to say here. But because he's putting it out there for people to pick off.
11 passes batted at the line of scrimmage too. That's a top 15 number, I guess bottom 15 number because he throws some weird angles and weird plateaus. I guess what would you call that? Shelves, whatever the technical term is for that. But because the ball comes out so fast, sometimes the mechanics just who cares? You're winging it sideways, you're doing something different. And he just trusts the throw. And this is going to be a hands up game for your defensive linemen and your linebackers because a couple of those balls have been batted up in the air. But I think I counted read this somewhere. I think 3 of the 7 interceptions or 2 of the 7 interceptions are on batted balls, but 11. That's a scouting report thing where you kind of figure out, all right, ball's out fast, it's coming right in the middle. Let's do something with it. Get the hands up. Maybe we'll make it work. They have, I don't know, Chris, but like if you look at West Virginia's leading receiver, you know who West Virginia's leading receiver is, right? Do you?
No,
It's Clement. Actually, no, it's Taylor. Taylor has 38. Clement has 36. Good numbers, right?
sure.
38 and 36 for Texas Tech would rank third and fourth. Actually, fourth and fifth. They are 80, 52, and 39 for their top 3 receivers. They spread the ball around. So West Virginia's 2 leading receivers. One's a tight end, one's a receiver. They would be fourth and fifth on the Texas Tech team. Josh Kelly, their stud, 80 catches, 873 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's been great this year. Caleb Douglas, not the stud, even though he's 52, 7, 12, and also 5 touchdowns. Just a pretty good tandem there. And the one thing that gets me all of a sudden, Chris, is oh, there goes my mic. Is Taj Brooks has 26 catches, the running back, 15 in the last 2 games. Scored last week where they just ran him up the middle for a go ball. It's not just checkdowns with him, and he's dangerous. Like he's just a really good all-around offensive player, and they've added him to the repertoire here because everybody's dropped back so much to cover their receivers that checkdowns, shorter routes with him. He's a great receiver, and then by the way, they'll pop him deep sometime too. He just has a wealth of targets here. They're 7-4. They're not unbeatable, but they have options here. West Virginia, how are they going to cover 3, 4 receivers here? Their top 3 receivers, again, all more productive than West Virginia's. They have a tight end who's got 25 catches and also 5 touchdowns. And now the running backs coming out of the backfield too. Um, where do you begin covering these guys? What matchups have your attention? What are you concerned about if you're West Virginia?
Everything, because
Yeah.
I think Texas Tech has found a nice blend. They got the ideal blend I would want if I were trying to design an offense, especially a passing offense, because they have the deep threat in Eakin, who is averaging over 14 yards. And so he is a guy. He's got a 70-yard touchdown. He's got 6 touchdowns. He actually leads the team in receiving touchdowns because he is that deep threat that can catch it. Um, and then you got Kelly and Douglas again, both solid, very productive wide receivers. But then, as you noted, you got Brooks as the underneath guy. So you got the long guy, you got the short guy, and then you have 2 extremely productive receivers. Mike, are you familiar with a defense that can't really defend the pass with their linebackers and edge rushers? Like they really struggle with like running backs. And you know anybody?
It's just a concern because mesh and just like leak plays with the tight end and the running back. Like it's yeah, I'm familiar. I know where you're going with this. It's certainly something that has my attention.
Yeah, that could be bad. Like I could see them really pick it apart again. Those linebackers that for West Virginia, like Lathan and Trotter, like they're good. They are good players. We keep talking about how they're struggling in pass defense. That does not mean they are bad linebackers. they're just not complete linebackers yet. Like they are better in the run game than they are in the pass in the coverage game. Like it's just a fact. And that could become a big problem again on Sunday.
Yeah, I would think so. Um, how good is Brooks? Like, I want to say he's the best running back in the Big 12. I know he's not leading the league in rushing. He hasn't been like super exciting, but you're like 22 straight games with at least 95 yards. Him and Ashton Janty are the only players who are in 7 or more games and have 100 yards in every game this year. That's the entire FBS. I think in since like 1955 in the entire country, there are 19 players who have 4,000 yards rushing and 100 catches. He's one of them. He's the only Big 12 player. I'm not forming the fan club and banging the gavel here, but he's just been fun to watch for a couple of years, and just to see him becoming more involved in the passing game now, it kind of worried me because breaks tackles, he runs, he can do 25 handoffs, he can do 6, 7 catches. I think he caught 9 last week. Um, Underrated, overlooked, or is that just a guy that he's very good, but he happens to be on a passing offense and you don't really recognize how good he's been? And also, they haven't been very successful overall either.
I mean, he's been around forever.
Yeah.
He's got the full 5 years in. Um, but but I feel like it was. I mean, I think I'm looking now. I mean, I know in 2022 he ate West Virginia up in limited carries, but I feel like even the year before that we were talking about, and he didn't play against West Virginia, but we were talking about, hey, like they got this guy Brooks who might be their best running back. Like if he gets on the field against West Virginia, he might be their best running back. And we talked about it on the pod. That was 3 years ago, and
Mhm.
he's been doing things ever since. I'm glad you got the stat in about the 100 yards every single game. Like
Yeah.
it's just that's amazing. And he has a touchdown in every game but one. And I think that was the Arizona State game. And I think there was like a play where he might have gotten down to the like 1 yard line or something like that. And it was just like, oh my God, insane. If he gets in there, touchdown in every game, 100 plus in every game, that's pretty darn hard to do no matter who you are. So he is about as consistent of a back and maybe one of the more versatile backs West Virginia will face, period. Like that. I don't have anything else to add to that. Like he is just that good, I think. And kind of gets overlooked. I mean, again, the Big 12 has had some good running backs come through. Um, Ollie Gordon, not this year, but Ollie Gordon last year, Bijan Robinson, just various guys that have come through, and everybody kind of talks about those. And then Taj Brooks is right there as maybe like the second or third best back kind of around for a couple years now, when maybe he should be number one like he is this year.
Mhm. Offensive line, they've done it again. Every now and then they seem like they have a pretty good offensive line. They mess around with transfers every now and then they get one that clicks. Sometimes they're just kind of winging it, but Pro Football Focus, they're 15th in pass protection, which is I don't know, that's pretty good if you pass it as much as they do too. Hasn't been everybody every game. They've had some motion here, and you're probably more tuned to this than I am right now, but um, they're just totally different skills. Like they just pass block so much that maybe they're not great running. Maybe like it's hard to evaluate their running blocking because they don't do it very much. Brooks makes them look great. The key here is pass protection, and they don't give up a ton of pressure and sacks. A lot of that's the ball comes out fast, so Morton's protecting them too. But I don't know how you disrupt this.
Yeah, it's tough. Rodgers and Merriman are the starting tackles, and they rank in the top 10 in pressures allowed. But that's a volume thing, as you noted. Like it's just they drop back so much, and they have so many plays overall that you're going to allow pressures. Like the pressure rate much lower for both of them. So I don't think those are exactly two spots where you can really attack. That spot might be left guard, right? Is that where he is now? Yeah, Porcher,
Yeah.
Sterling
Right.
Porcher, because like he started as the team's left tackle. He began the season as the team's starting left tackle, was terrible, got benched, sat on the bench. I think there was an injury that then required a spot to be filled in. He came in and is now has been starting at left guard for the last 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. Not much better. He has a run block grade of 39. Again, 65 is 60 is average, 65 is slightly above average. He has a run block grade of 39 and a pass block grade of 59. He had a literal I'm about to break out my National Lampoons here. 0.0 pass blocking grade for an entire game.
Yeah.
0.0 against Arizona. So
Oh, that
Yeah,
team.
yeah, against Arizona of all teams,
Yeah,
it's a 0.0 against one of maybe the worst defense around in a
yeah.
league full of bad defenses. So, yeah, there's a few times a year where I say put that big shiny neon light right over somebody's head. That's where you should be putting it for West Virginia.
What do you make of a team that has number two in third down attempts, number one in third down conversions? That probably makes sense because they are averaging, I think, more yards per game than anybody in the Actually, number two, Syracuse is better. Anyways, a wealth of plays. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of third downs, a lot of third down conversions. They're also 13th in conversion percentage. So they're getting a lot of third downs. They're converting a lot of third downs too, and they're very efficient with it too. How does this happen? Are they hitting a lot of like third and eights? Are they in advantageous situations? They're not playing CFL football where they're getting first downs on second down. They're in third down a lot. I mean, like 14 times a game, I think is or 13 times a game is the number I think. And they're getting most of them per game, like almost half. So there's something going on here. Just I don't know if it's a statistical anomaly, but you'll see a lot of teams that convert a lot that have a lot of attempts, but they're not near 50% either.
You talk about we talk about their tempo. They're fast. They're fast. They're fast. They get a lot of plays in. Even as fast as they are, they still have a time of possession that's positive, more than 30 minutes. And it's because of what you're talking about right there, that they just keep converting third downs. Why? They don't go negative a lot. West Virginia talked a lot about this past game about when things started to go south against UCF, it was because they were negative. They were negative. They had just I think would they say 11 negative plays
Yeah.
or plays for losses. Texas Tech doesn't do that. On the season, they rank. I mean, they're down there, but again, it's a volume thing. Like they've allowed 65 tackles for loss, which would include sacks and stuff like that. But when you are running that many plays, when you are passing that often, that number is going to be inflated. The rate is much better, and so if you are again moving forward, hitting third and three, you have say a running back that averages 5 to 6 yards per carry and over 100 yards every single game. It's going to be hard to get you off the field.
95 of their third downs are 6 or fewer yards.
Yeah,
That's about
I agree.
half. So it's not like they've been killing it and they're always in third and two, third and three. About half are third and medium to third and short, and half of them are third and medium plus a third and long. So they've really just been good at it too. And they there's not one player who does all the work on this. Yeah, Brooks is going to get a lot of that, but look at the receivers. No one is hogging up all the third downs. That like last week you had what was the receiver's name? He was very quiet. I don't know, but I
Hudson.
think he had none of the other receiver, the transfer from Ohio University. I can't remember his name. He was largely non-factor. He had two catches, but he had 18, he had 20 catches and 18s were first downs, and he'd all done that in the last 3 weeks. The new quarterback. You don't see that here because again, they seem like they just have a lot of faith in what they're doing. Just obvious stuff here, Chris. They West Virginia cannot play. I'm guessing three linebackers in this game or a 4-3, whatever you want to call it. Probably a big game for Tyron Bradley. Homecoming for him. He's from Lubbock. They'd like to get some pressure with him. They're going to have him on the field. He'll have to be good in drops. Like he's probably going to see Kelly a bunch. Kelly plays in the slot almost exclusively, hardly ever goes down the field. They're going to challenge the linebackers here, but never mind that they're not going to play that 4-3 or 3-4. Chris, do you go dime? Like, do you take, I don't know, Lathan or Trotter or Carrico off the field and just keep one out there? You might argue yes, but who are you putting on the field to supplement that? Is it can't be Garnes, it can't be Burks. They have not, Chris, they didn't play a backup defensive back last game. They got Boyce in the field. I think he was an extra safety, but Wilson and Joseph, Hollis, and Fagan played every snap. Um, no Spells, no Crandall. Spells didn't play. Crandall played special teams. Does one of them? I mean, one of them has to play this game. Someone's going to have to play. I don't know who plays backup at safety, but you probably got to give guys a break if you're getting 80 plus snaps, which is probably the plan for Texas Tech. But could you see them doing something or having to do something where they take a linebacker off the field, take the bandit off the field? I don't know, and put in an extra defensive back. So not just Tarnu, but somebody else. Let's say they go they're 4-2-5, where Bradley's the four. I get that. Do you take a linebacker out the field and add a defensive back, or is that worst case scenario and you can't be spooked by the way the Texas Tech plays?
I don't hate it, and there's a couple reasons why. I mean, one, it's difficult because they're so balanced because they do have all the threats on in the passing game, and they also have Taj Brooks in the backfield.
Run him into dime and watch what happens.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. I think you have to take your loss somewhere. Like there's just no, there's no, again, when you're balanced like that, you're going to have to take your losses somewhere. And I think maybe you do go into a dime look because, in part, the running, Brooks has a lot of success outside. And so I'm trying to think in my head here, hey, if you're going to take, say, a linebacker out of the middle and put somebody else out on the perimeter, even if it is a cornerback instead of a linebacker, does that not help with the run defense? But it's not quite as bad. It helps with your pass defense, obviously, but it's not quite as bad because Brooks is such an outside runner that
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't really hurt you quite as much. Just to run a couple stats on that real quick. Outside, 7 yards per carry. And I'm talking outside, not outside of tackle. I'm talking way out, like outside of the right end. They call it on PFF left end and right end. Like you are getting way out wide. 7 yards per carry. A touchdown once every 9 carries for him on the outside. 10 plus yard gain once every 3.8 carries. And he's getting a missed tackle once every 3 carries when he gets to the outside. Inside, you're down to 4 yards per carry. You're down to one touchdown every, God, what's the math on that? 36 carries, a 10 plus yard game once every 13 carries, and you're getting a missed tackle only once every six. So much, 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 much more dangerous runner on the outside. So if you're telling me again, typically a linebacker is going to tackle better than a cornerback or better than a safety, typically. But if you're telling me, hey, maybe we take away somebody that's in the middle of the field here and add somebody else out on the perimeter, even if their focus is supposed to be on pass defense, it might not be quite as bad in the run game as one might think.
Yeah, the problem is they're going to play that tight end Conyers, who's 6'4", 265, and I've been told by a bunch of people he's an excellent blocker. Like what he does in the run game is really effective. They don't take him off the field, so this is not going to be a five wide thing. It's similar to West Virginia; they're going to keep it tight on the field. I don't think you'll see two. Shoot, I think they've only played a second guy, not very often, but Conyers is pretty good there too. Let's switch sides now. Let's have some fun with the Texas Tech defense, Chris. Whew, this is I don't know, man. Like, why is this a graveyard for defenses? Is it the culture?
Because here's my question for you.
And
I
Tim
think,
DeRuyter's a good coach too. Like he's been around forever. So if someone's going to go in there and have a, all right, this is hard. But it hasn't worked out. It seems.
well, between Texas Tech and really like a lot of teams in the Big 12, we talked about Texas Tech, we've talked about West Virginia, we talked about Baylor. I think we were talking about the Baylor thing. Like, man, look, they're eating these defenses up, and it's like, but that's because it's bad pass defenses. And so is West Virginia. But are the Big 12 offenses that good that it's just making the Big 12 defense? Because I don't think they are. But there are a lot of Big 12 defenses that are, especially pass defenses, that are way down in the rankings.
I would say that in the past, in the second half of the season, it's changed. Like Colorado got it cooking for sure. Um, Kansas and Daniels look totally different. Baylor looks totally different with Robertson. Texas Tech just kind of what they are. But some of these teams have woken up and done some good things here. Getting the quarterback at Arizona State, I forget his name, Merrill. I think he missed one or two games. He came back. He's been going again. Like I think they're getting better. The defenses are not though.
Yeah. Um, because on theirs, like I'm looking at here, just this is just pure passing yards allowed per game. We agree that West Virginia's has been one of the worst in the country. Yes, like that's not up for debate.
I'm trying to find the right term, but I've come to like grips with most forgiving.
Okay, well, that's kind of you.
That's nice.
124th in
Yeah.
yards allowed per game, which is maybe the high point of the season right now. Um, Texas Tech
I don't have a word for this.
occupying West Virginia's old spot at 133rd out of 134 teams. So they are, I mean, is porous a nice word? Is that a
I
generous
think it's
word?
one. I think that's one too many syllables. Just poor. Um, and like some of the numbers, like the one thing that blows me away is how many guys have played a ton of snaps. So they haven't really cycled through, and that makes some of the numbers look good. But like they've given up so many big plays, Chris. Um, their rankings for like 10-yard passes, 20-yard passes, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 are all like bottom 10 in the country. Like few teams have given up. I think like their number, hold on, I actually have the stats somewhere if I can find it right now. Just if you take aim, you're gonna have something good happen. They're number 132. There's 134 teams. 132 and 10 and 20-yard passes, 115 and 30-yard passes, 119 and 40-yard passes, 123 and 50, 132 and 60, 134 last and 70-yard plays. This is why they're like the word this week is trigger for Garrett Green. Just throw the ball. Throw it. Like just and if you throw it out of bounds, you're a knucklehead. Just throw it because something is likely to happen. This is not quite buying a lottery ticket like a Powerball, even a scratch off, but you can't do anything unless you put your money on the counter. So you have to put the ball in the air and then see if something happens here because they've given up so many big plays. And how does West Virginia find it without Traylon Ray? Can they do something? I don't know, but this is you're 11 games in, and these are the numbers. It's every bit of the offenses they're playing, but also the defense that they are.
Yeah. And again, a lot of it is the coverage is bad. And then the next part of it is the what happens after the catch is bad.
Mhm.
Like worst, with the worst. Like, I'm about to tell you the Big 12 numbers, and I'm going to say they're the worst. And I'm serious. 16 out of 16. I don't have time to go through all 134 FBS teams, but I guarantee you they are close to the bottom, if not the bottom, in missed tackle percentage. Dead last in the Big 12.
Mm.
One of the very worst. They have allowed almost 2,000 passing yards after the catch, Mike.
Are you serious?
After the catch, 1,939 yards after the catch. Like they, like I can't even. My mind cannot even wrap around that. That is unbelievable. The teams have more yards after the catch than they do as far down the field as they are. They've given up, at least according to this, what I'm looking at right here, 3,420 yards. Is
Mm.
that accurate right here? Or does that come
I
back
believe
down to
so.
the bottom? 33.99. I think maybe there's a pass or two here, but so 3,400 yards they've given up on the season. And according to PFF, 1,939 of them are after the catch. That means about 1,500 of them are before the catch. That's nuts. That is absolutely nuts.
If if they had only allowed yards after the catch, they would have ranked number 13 in the country in passing defense.
Maybe that's one way to look at it.
And if they only allowed yards before the catch, they'd be number one. It's amazing. Notre Dame, by the way, has only allowed 1,535 passing yards. I guess they played two option teams, so that'll happen. But anyways, I don't want to get down a Notre Dame rabbit hole here. Um, yeah, I don't want to say Garrett Green has to throw for 300 yards here. But boy, he should hit some bombs in this game or something on the go. There's a lot of room before the catch. There's a lot of room after the catch. The only thing is that they do force turnovers. 18 turnovers, 82 points off, 9 touchdowns, 9 field goals. I think is the math there. When they get an interception, but 18 turnovers and 82 points off is that's pretty significant, Chris. West Virginia, I think, has forced 10 turnovers this year, so that's the number you're working with there. Um, but how are they doing this? Is it just because the ball is in the air a lot and they're picking off passes? They do have a number of interceptions. They, I don't know, they're just okay in like pass rush, run defense, things like that. I don't know, like, can we say something good about them? I don't want to be too down the whole time. Like their rush defense, I think, is right in the middle of the pack, like 65 or 66. Sacks, TFLs, I think they're like one of the lowest numbers for sacks. They don't really disrupt the passer. TFLs, 91, so they're really not in the backfield very much. Like how I guess offense is why they're 7-4, but I mean, is the offense that much of a hero? Is like this defense is that problematic?
All right, I got one thing on defensive line, which is a negative, so I'll wait on that. I guess if you want me to be positive here, we'll put a little positive spin for the Texas Tech listeners out there, and that's they might have one of the best players on the field in Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, 113 tackles. He is first on the team in tackles with 113. Would you like to take a guess at how far behind number two is on the team?
40.
Yeah,
Hmm.
75. He's at 75, which is what is the math? Yeah, 38 on that. He is first on the team in sacks. He is second on the team in pass breakups, third in interceptions, first in forced fumbles, first in fumble recoveries. So he is tackling the runners, pressuring the quarterback, defending the pass as good as or better than anyone else on the team. He literally does it all for that team on defense. So if you're looking for positive, if you're looking for a guy that can create havoc, we haven't talked about havoc and havoc rate in a long time because, quite frankly, West Virginia hasn't done it, and neither have their opponents. But Rodriguez is a guy that can. So
Hmm.
if you're Texas Tech, if you're looking for hope, almost single handedly, he could be a guy that could flip this game.
He's got, I think he set his hand in 6 turnovers. I think he has like the number of interceptions, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries is 6, which is a third of their 18 turnovers. And they pick the ball off. They are aggressive. Here's the weird thing: they're aggressive in the secondary, and I think it's because like they have to be, otherwise they're just sitting ducks. But they've picked off 12 passes this year. They make some things happen, and if you look at some of their PFF numbers, you're concerned by targets and completion percentage. Some of that is going to be like you're just going to take aim at that defense. There's going to be a lot of targets, but they do have guys who have forced incompletions, who've broken up passes, so things can happen there. I don't. It's not a JV team. I understand that, but it has not played especially well this year. So how are they going to stretch the field though, Chris? Because that seems to be the thing you have to do. Like it's not all going to be catch and run. They might throw some screens and some stuff that do try to make it work quickly here. But we saw the lack of Traylon Ray, and what they tried to do without him wasn't great. They got bailed out. I shouldn't say bailed out. They benefited by having Hudson Clement have a very good game, and just his thing is being in the right spot. I'm not sure he's a burner. Robinson, we'll see. They're not going to get Bray back. They did sneak Dom Collins on the field for one snap. That's on film now, so you got to watch him. I just wonder, like, how are they going to make this work? Because it has to work. It has to work. Like they've been beat a bunch deep, and West Virginia can do it and has been looking to do it. And then here they are just saying Green has to trigger. It has to trigger. It starts with pass protection, not a threat from Texas Tech. So Green should have space, should have time, should be comfortable. Who are they going to, and where are they looking?
That's the best question because you've already mentioned like Clement and Robinson. They're both more of those. How did you phrase it? On the go guys that like they're catching it. They're catching it 10 to 20 yards down the field, but as they're moving, and that's how they're going to get the 20, 30-yard gains if they can. They're not the guys that are going to get behind the defense like Traylon Ray did. I'm proud of you. It was your pick, so I guess I'm not surprised. But saying Dom Collins, I was gonna be like, hey, maybe the Dom Collins game is back. Maybe they're gonna try it more than once. They only tried it once, right? Um against UCF.
One snap, and he was wide open. I think he shocked Green, but also Green got pressured outside too.
Yeah. So maybe you see him for a handful more games. There's no concerns about red shirts or anything like that. So maybe he gets out there. Maybe you try to just put him and well, the fact that we can't come up with a definitive answer outside of a true freshman that only played one snap, does that maybe speak to the issues at the position? Like, because
Just
I
40
can't think of
handoffs
anybody
missed.
else on the team where I'm like, yeah, that guy's a burner and is going to get behind the defense now that Trey's out.
I think Clement has a chance to do that. I think he's a plus athlete. Doesn't get a lot of credit for that. I think he'll grow into that. He just has been asked to do that a bunch, and he makes acrobatic catches or contested catches. That's for sure. He has the capacity. I'd start him now. I just say, hey, you want to go deep 6 times? See what happens.
Hmm.
You know what? Screw it. Put Collins at the X and just have him run deep a bunch. And then when that defensive back is wheezing, here comes Clement. Just make it easier. That's what Baylor used to do. Baylor used to just
Yeah.
run gas their defensive backs, hand it off inside a couple times, gain 12 yards and 2 carries, and then bring in fresh receivers and then throw it deep. I remember Darren Roberts just pulling his hair out about that because like it wasn't fair. Like this is not how you play offense. It is how you play offense. He did marvel it, but like you knew that was a big problem. Just there's a way to reinvent the wheel, I think, and like they can be good in the passing game, probably within the constructs of what they do normally, but there's a chance to be explosive here. You just have a feeling that this is going to be like a 30 handoff game, though, don't you? Like this is going to be a game they try to again establish, and I just this is not a game where Brown wants to be pulled out of his cookie cutter, which is cookie cutter is not derogatory. He just has a staple that he wants to be on offense. He wants to run it to set up play action. He wants to stack up plays and first downs at time of possession. You keep that offense off the field to keep your defense off the field. It's a perfectly reasonable explanation here too. The trouble is though, if Texas Tech gets up because they're excellent in the first quarter, and you got to run the ball, you might have to abandon it. But um, running game here, Texas Tech's rush defense again about 145 yards per game. They see a bunch of carries. They don't give up a ton of yards per carries. They have been beaten up a couple times here too. Just and Donaldson looked great last game too when he was starting and um, I mean literally starting the game, but he the first time this year. But just seemed like that was the way to get him going. And then White, I think White's pretty much a mobile talent. Like you could start him, you could put him in, and if he comes in after Donaldson's softening some teams up, it's a lot easier for him to make plays too.
Yeah, they have what they're kind of middle of the pack, 60th or whatever in rush defense. The problem is they do so well on offense. Again, you asked the question like, "Hey, is there anything positive about the defense, or is it literally just the offense is the savior for them?" And I think, yeah, I think the offense is the savior because look at last game. Ollie Gordon was eating them alive on the
Yeah.
ground, but Texas Tech's offense was just scoring at will, putting up all of these points. So Oklahoma State had to more or less, I mean, abandon the run. I guess. I mean, they had to pass more than they wanted to because they had to try to keep up. They had to score more, even though Ollie Gordon was having himself a game. The only time really this season, I mean, there's been a couple of times where guys have run well, but the only time that it's really been good has been I'm looking at Washington State and Arizona and Baylor. That was because those teams got ahead. Those teams got ahead. Those teams slowed down Texas Tech's offense, and then they were able to be like, "All right, cool, got the lead. Let's run the ball." And then they ran it down their throats. Baylor averaged 7.7 yards per carry. Washington State 6.5. So you can do it. The problem is your defense has to essentially set it up. Like you have to slow down or get Texas Tech off to a slow start, which, as you noted, is more difficult than just saying that. So
Was that
it's gonna
so?
be tough.
Okay. Um, Arizona, Washington State ran for 300 yards against Texas Tech. Um, it's not the last time that Washington State ran for 300 yards. Baylor ran for 255. We've seen Baylor's offense known for the pass, but they can really run the ball too. And that's when they started to turn things around there too. Oklahoma State got Ollie Gordon going. They ran for 5 touchdowns, 165 yards. Chris, teams that run the ball can run the ball against Texas Tech. I said this before, like I think rush defenses can stop good rush offenses because it's the assignment, it's discipline. This is not a great rush defense, and it can get run over. Like if you look at teams that make an effort to rush the ball on their schedule, it's been pretty effective here. And conversely, teams that don't run the ball have had trouble. Like Colorado ran for 60 yards, not what they do. TCU's had an issue running the ball this year. Ran for 117. Arizona does not run the ball. Ran for 121. Arizona State only ran for 94. It's a tough day for Scatabo. He played in that game too, and that's actually why Texas Tech beat Arizona State. Believe it or not, too. One of the stranger, more important outcomes right now, Chris. When you look at things, if this is, I think, where the lure is for Brown and the offense is that if you have a plan and you right run team, yeah, and you're right, Chris. If you can keep the conditions on your side, you can run the ball against this team, and that's where I think that they're going to go here. Like, yeah, there's this lure to pass the ball against them because everybody has and everybody can. Um, the safer route is probably to run the ball if that's what you want to do, and that's what West Virginia does better. They're not a passing offense like prolifically; they want to run it. Um, that'll be interesting here too. And then if or how they pull West Virginia out of its lane and make them pass the ball, can they stop it? Don't know. I think it's gonna be a ping
Mm.
pong game, Chris. I think you can see a lot of this back and forth.
Sorry, can we talk about that first quarter thing? I'm glad you brought that up for
It's
Texas
incredible.
Tech because I'm not looking at the scoring part. I mean, it correlates obviously, but here's their passing offense in the second quarter, 29th out of where they rank in the country. 29th, third quarter, 29th, fourth quarter, 32nd. So for three-fourths of the game, they are an above average team, fringe top 25 passing offense. The first quarter, number 8, they complete 75% of their passes, which is one of the best in the country. And they have 11 touchdowns to 0 interceptions
Unbelievable.
in the first quarter. Like the 11 touchdowns is tied for second. The 0 interceptions is the best. The rating 172.5 is top 10. Like everything is great in the first quarter. So West Virginia is going to have to kind of hold off the onslaught right there at the very beginning. If West Virginia can go into the second quarter with the game tied or God forbid they in the lead, maybe things will be all right. But as for whatever reason, Texas Tech after the first quarter really slows down as far as their passing game goes.
All right. Anything else in the offense here before we wrap this up?
Sorry, I got
Chris.
nothing else. I was saying it and I was muted, but I meant it when I said I have nothing else.
All right.
Really
It's
had nothing else.
a figurative and literal, nothing else then. That's good. All right, let's go to the end here, Chris. Noon kick FS1. So boy Tim Brando back?
No, he wasn't on the call. Uh, I
Thanks,
wrote
kid.
that story and I can't remember what I wrote.
You wrote the story that Tim Brando's not in the call. We reached that
No.
status. All right, so
Yeah,
noon game, 3:30, and then just it'll be busy Saturday and Sunday. Just say that now. What are we talking about here?
we can't say Neil Brown, right? One way or another.
If you want to, sure.
Too easy, too easy, too easy, too easy. No, because it's Garrett Green. Like there's been it's I know I think I've picked him before, but the talk has really like I don't want to say I was surprised, but the coaches were pretty blunt that the offense kind of stifled itself because of Green's decision or indecision, more accurately. And this is an opportunity for him to kind of take control and really just let it fly, as you noted. Like this Texas Tech defense is so bad that he should have an amazing game. There are no excuses in
Mm.
this game for not having a great game. There are no excuses for West Virginia's offense to be stifled in any way. So I think if things go well, like all right, hey, big strong finish from Green, that's fantastic. End of his career, possibly West Virginia. We'll see what he wants to do with the bowl game. But or if not, then it's man, what happened? Because last year was so great. This year, 6-6, Green disappointing half the games, solid
Mm.
half the games, and I think that's going to be the conversation that's going around.
I just want to go into the first half stuff. I want to kind of piggyback off what you said about the way that Texas Tech starts the game. Their first quarter offense, 120 points. They're just in another gear at home. I think a lot of people understand that. Chris, West Virginia's second quarter offense, 120 second quarter. Chris, that's impressive, man. That's one reason that they're 3-1 on the road this year, and then probably should be 4-0. But they're going to get punched in this game more likely than not, but they also have a chance to punch back. And if they are resilient, and man, if elastic and resilient isn't the word of the week right now or the past month, I don't know. But if this doesn't go their way in the first quarter, there's still 45 minutes left, and that is not a brick wall on the other side of the field. So Texas Tech may get hits in the first quarter. You can't freak out. You got to play your game and then just be good in the second quarter and get back into it. I don't care about the coin toss, who kicks, receives, whatever, new streak, whatever. We got a
Come
long time
on,
before
yes,
we.
you do.
All right, I do. But I just think that like this is gonna be an eventful game. I keep saying that. So yeah, that first quarter stat's really important for Texas Tech. They get off on the right foot and they're dictating. Yeah, man, it could be 21-0, 21-3 if you're not careful. West Virginia is just as potent in the second quarter, and they've been even better on the road than at home. That is something I would certainly look for. That I don't know, Chris, middle late of the first half. Does that make sense? Maybe the first 4 minutes of the first half and the last 4 minutes of the first half, the bookend eight. I don't know what you want to call it. I just think there's going to be some significant momentum moments, whatever, in that first half. And if one team gets going, doesn't matter. You can get it back. And then, you can also, if you're Texas Tech, you don't have a great first quarter. You better be careful because West Virginia might have a good way to pull away from you before halftime there. Wrapping it up before the end of the week here, Chris. Got the fresh set, got by the numbers. We got a basketball tournament, plenty coming up on the side. We also have the deal going on right now, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. 75% off Black Friday. Get in there, get signed up. Uh, this is like, whenever there's a deal, it's like, hey, this is the one. Literally cannot get better than 75%. They will never go higher. It happens once a year. So get on it now. Don't complain later. I mean, I think it works out to like $25, $26 for an entire year. Think about all the entertainment you would get on our message board. And by the way, for you listeners out there is an entire thread that's literally just you get to pepper Mike with questions and he has to answer them all night long. Like
Has to.
anytime, he must answer them. So that's worth it alone. Just that's worth my $25 to annoy Mike for 365 straight days. Do it.
There's
Sign up now.
also a thread you can ask Chris politics questions too.
I've
If that's your
hidden that
thing.
board.
It's hidden. Yeah, 75% off. Can't beat it. It makes me furious, but that's fine. It's good for you all. It doesn't really matter what I think. I still check in, punch clock every day. We'll do that Saturday, noon, FS1. And again, we'll light the candles, drink the Red Bull, all that stuff, because one way or the other, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, probably going to be eventful here, I'm sure. Until then, I am Mike Casaza.
I'm Chris Anderson.
We will talk. We will talk to you then.